Hello everybody and welcome to the beginner to intermediate guide to AMM calculations. The purpose of this video is to deepen your knowledge of AMM calculations. You'll get exposure to real-life examples and you'll understand what price impact, price slippage and arbitrage is. You'll also understand why having more liquidity is important. The prerequisites to watching this video is that you have used an AMM before and you have heard of what x times y equals to k is. You will also have to have knowledge of the existence of tokens like DAI, USDC, or REP, Bitcoin, or Doge. Now, what we're going to go through today is firstly, we're going to talk about what x times y equals to k is, and we'll talk about some examples. Next, we'll look at the price impact, price slippage, and arbitrage, followed by more examples, and lastly, I have some questions for you. Before we start with x times y equals to k, I want to show you what a liquidity pool is. If you head over to v2.info.uniswap.org, you'll realize that there are a lot of pairs like this. And in this pair, you'll see this word called liquidity, which is the value, and you'll notice that some of these pairs have very high liquidity. So for example, this Ethereum USDT pair, if you click on it, it has $62 million inside this pool. And if you click view on Etherscan, you'll notice that this pool has 31 million USDT and 17,000 WIF. And both of them is almost equivalent to each other. One has 31,449,000 and the other one has 31,381,000 for a total of 62,833,000. If you look at another pool, let's say USDC and USDT, and if you go to Etherscan, you'll notice that this pool has 10 million USDC tokens and 10 million USDT tokens for a value of $10 million and $10 million. So this liquidity pool has $21 million. So the price times amount of X is roughly the same as the price times amount of Y. The price, which is $1, times the amount, which is 10 million, is this. It's roughly the same as the price of this times the amount of this. And likewise, if you look at WIF and USDT, the price of WIF is 1,840 and the amount of WIF is 17,000. So the price times amount of this should be equivalent to the price and the amount of this. Now, if the pool has 10 ETH and 1 ETH is worth about 2,000 DAI, then Y should be about 20,000 DAI. In this case, the pool, which is 10 ETH and 20,000 DAI, has about 40,000 worth of liquidity inside. Next, some points to note are X and Y, these two variables here, will refer to the amount of tokens, not the price. If you look at WIF and USDT again, X and Y will refer to this amount here, not this amount over here. And K will always be constant. If X changes, only Y will change, and if Y changes, only X will change. Now we ask ourselves, how does X or Y change? By depositing or withdrawing X or Y. We take a look at this pool, 10 ETH and 20,000 DAI. 10 times 20,000 is 200,000, so K is 200,000. I want to buy 1 ETH from this pool, so how much DAI do I actually have to pay? Buying means withdrawing from the pool. So it's like going to the grocery store and buying an apple. You pay the cashier with money and you get the apple. In this case, you want to buy 1 ETH from this pool, so you are taking out 1 ETH from this pool. So if you want to take out 1 ETH from this pool, how much DAI do you have to pay for this 1 ETH? This is the original pool, and after you buy 1 ETH, means you take it out, X becomes 9. And now Y is unknown. K is the constant, so it will always remain consistent. How to do the calculations over here? So it's simple algebra. 9 times Y equals to 200,000. So we move the 9 over here. Y equals to 200,000 divided by 9. So Y equals to 22,222. This is the original pool, and after you buy 1 ETH, your Y becomes 22,222. So for you to take out 1 ETH, for you to buy 1 ETH, you have to put in 2,222 DAI. Essentially, you paid 2,222 die for one if. Now this is a small note that says you paid 2,222 amount of die, not dollars of die. But since one die is roughly equals to $1, you paid $2,222 for one if. When using x times y equals to k, we only talk about amounts. Okay, now you have bought one if and you want to buy one more if. This was the liquidity pool after buying one if. 9 if and 22,000 die. You want to buy one more if, so you take away one more from 9, which is 8. And how do you calculate the y? Same thing. You move the 8 over and you divide by 200,000 and y gets you 25,000. So after buying one if, y becomes this amount. After buying two if, y becomes this amount. To buy one if from this pool, you need to put in 25,000 minus 22,222, which is 2,778. Now, you paid 2,778 die for one if. Notice that when you bought your first if, you paid 2.2k. And then, when you bought your next if, you paid 2.7k. So I'll go one more iteration for you buying one more if. And now if you buy one more if, and you can do the calculations over here, you will pay 3,571 die for your if. Notice that this die actually increases for the same amount of if, because k is constant. If you want to sell back your if, let's say you bought 3 dice let's say you bought 3 ifs from this pool and you don't really know what to do with the if. So you want to sell it back to the pool. Or you can do so. This was the original pool when you have bought 3 if. This is the pool after you sell 3 if. So how much will you get back? You'll get back 8,571 die, which is the sum of 3.5k plus 2.7k plus 2.2k. Okay, let's now do the reverse. I want to sell one if. Selling means I want to put in one if, and I want to take back an amount, X amount of die. So maybe your friend gave you one if, and you want to sell it away. And you saw this liquidity pool and say, maybe let's try selling it to this liquidity pool. When you sell one if, this was the original pool, your X increases by 1. And now we have to calculate what die is again. What y is again. So y is 18,181. So when you want to sell one if, you get 1,819 die. So this is 11. Yeah. So this times this will get you 200,000 die. What's the conclusion of this x times y equals to k? If you buy more of one token, that token you bought gets more expensive. You can see from here. Firstly, one if was 2.2k, then it became 2.7k, then it became 3.5k. And if you sell more of one token, that token that you sell gets less expensive. So originally, one if was worth $2,000. And then when you sold one if, you only got back $1,800. The k is the constant, it will never change. X and y refer to the amount of tokens in the pool. Buying a token means withdrawing the tokens, and selling a token means depositing the token into the pool. The less token in the pool, compared to the original distribution, the more valuable it is. Now let's talk about price impact. Price impact refers to the change in price directly caused by your own trade itself. So once again, this is the original pool. 10 if and 20,000 die. So this x value and this y value will be the same. So one if will be about 2,000 die. If you buy one if, this pool becomes like this, right? 9 if and 22,222 die. So one if, the current price of if becomes 2,469 die after you bought one if. In other words, what was the original one, which was 2000, you have moved this 2000 die to become 2469 die. So your price impact when you bought one ETH was 23.45%. Now if you have bought two ETH instead, your price impact, so you have moved the price from 2000 die for one ETH to 3000 die for one ETH. Because 25,000 die divided by 8 is 3000 die per ETH. So you have moved the price for about 56.25%. This is a really high number, and you don't want a high number for your price impact. So how do you not have a high number for your price impact? You have large liquidity. Take the same example, but you just enlarge it. Now you have 1000 ETH in the pool and 2 million DAI in the pool. One ETH is still worth 2000 DAI, but now this pool has 4 million liquidity. If you buy one ETH, you will move the price, you subtract 1 from 1000 and you will move the price by only 0.2%. So now after you bought one ETH, the price of DAI will become 2004. And if you bought 2 ETH, the price of DAI will become 2008. Once again, price impact refers to the change in price directly caused by your trade. So when you trade it, how much percentage do you move the price by? So what's the conclusion of this? The bigger the liquidity pool, the lower the price impact for the trade. And a lower price impact means you can get to buy tokens at a better price because the price will not fluctuate a lot. And also, you must remember to always look for large liquidity pools to swap in so that your price impact will be low. Okay, now let's talk about price slippage. Price slippage refers to the change in price caused by external broad market movements. Price impact is your trade, but price slippage is external, so you can't control it. And why is price slippage so important? So you have to remember that when you are trading in a pool, you are not the only person trading. There will be many people before you and many people after you. Let's take a look at the 10 Ethereum liquidity pool once more. You want to sell one ETH into the pool. How much will you get? We've gone through this before in the first part. If you sell one ETH, you'll get 1.8 thousand DAI. But then, you realize that there is such thing called a slippage. If you don't know what a slippage is, and you actually decide to sell one ETH, thinking that you will get 1.8 thousand DAI, this is where it can go wrong. So in other words, when you sell one ETH to the pool, you expect to get 1.8k DAI. Setting slippage to 0 means accepting the fact that you can get 0 DAI back when selling one ETH. But wait, how will you actually get 0 DAI back? Or rather, how will you get less than 1.8k DAI back? Let's say you want to sell one Ethereum in the pool, but someone front runs you. So basically that means someone does the trade before you and sells 1000 Ethereum in the pool. So right after you sold your one Ethereum, the same person bought back his 1000 Ethereum. So the sequence goes like this. That person sells 1000 Ethereum first. Then you sell your one Ethereum. Then that person buys back 1000 Ethereum. This is the original pool. That dude sold 1000 Ethereum to the pool and got 19,809 DAI. This is not a really good trade because essentially he sold one ETH for like $20. But you didn't know that this trade when happened. So you sold one ETH. Now you think about this and think what can go wrong if you sell one ETH right now. This is the new liquidity pool. When you sell one ETH right now, 1010 will become 1011. Your Y will be question mark and your K is constant at 200k. You sold your one ETH and actually only got back 19 cents. Because see, you sold your one ETH, so 1010 becomes 1011. but the Y moves ever so slightly, so you only got back 19 cents. And then he buys back 1000 ETH and paid 17,984 DAI. So this was the intended pool. This was what it was supposed to be. But instead of getting back $1,819, you got back 19 cents. This is what happened. The dude earned 19,802 minus 17,984. When he sells 1,000 Ethereum, he got 19,800. When he buys back 1,000 Ethereum, he only paid 17,984. So he got 1,818 DAI from you. And you sold your ETH and only got 19 cents. In other words, you got caught in a sandwich because you are in the middle and the dude front runs you and back runs you. Since you put your slippage to 0 when selling your Ethereum, you got sandwich attack and got back 19 cents instead of 1.8k DAI. So you have to remember that you have always put slippage protection. If you think the original amount is about 1.8k that you'll get back, so you have to set your slippage maybe 3 to 5% or even 10 to 20% lower than that of the original if the liquidity inside the pool is very low. The reason why you don't want to set your slippage at 100% means you want to get back 1.8k DAI, because if the price changes ever so slightly with 100 of people trading every second, your swap will revert because you technically won't be able to get exactly 1.819 DAI back. Sandwich attack is not the only problem in not setting price slippage. There's also normal price slippage issues. For example, let's say another dude sold one DAI before you and then you sell it. Instead of getting 1.819k DAI back, you only got 1.514k DAI back. So if you can see here, he sold it first, he got 1.8k, you sold it next, you got 1.5k. And if another person sells one more ETH, he'll get lesser, and the amount will get lesser and lesser. What did we learn from price impact and slippage? Is that you have to always trade in a pool with a large liquidity. If this pool was very large, you will not, this disparity between 1.8k and 1.5k will not be so large. You can do the calculations yourself. You just multiply everything by 1000, like what I did for the price impact. And then you can see how much DAI you get back and what is the slippage. When trading, always set a slippage parameter. This is to protect yourself from getting sandwich attack or just getting a poor price back. Also, do not set your slippage to 100% because if someone trades even very small amount, like if a person just trades 0.0001 ETH, or if he just wants to buy one DAI worth of ETH, your swap will be reverted. So do not set your slippage to 100% because in times of high liquidity or even normal liquidity, your swap will keep reverting. Okay, let's move on to arbitrage. What is arbitrage? Before that, I want to ask you something. I want to ask you, how much is one Ethereum actually worth right now? And how do you know how much is one Ethereum worth? So you can go to CoinMarketCap and you can see the price of Ethereum. Right now it's about 1.8k, 1.85k. See here? Let's say, for example, this pool is real. In a random decentralized exchange, this pool exists. What can you do to actually gain some money from the pool? Before that, where can you buy ETH? So there are two ways you can buy. One is from centralized exchanges, from like Coinbase or Crypto.com. And the second one is from decentralized exchanges like Uniswap or SushiSwap. Let's say this price is real, 1.842. And this liquidity pool exists. So you bought one Ethereum from Coinbase for $1.842,000. Then you sell 0.5 ETH to this pool. and you got 953 die. I did the calculations for you. So when you sell 0.5 ETH to this pool, X becomes 10.5, and you calculate for Y gives you 19k. So you take 20k and you subtract 19k to it, you get 953 die. Next, you have 0.5 ETH left, and then you sell your 0.5 ETH back to Coinbase, and you get $925. You started with $1,850 to buy 1 ETH. You sold 0.5 ETH back to Coinbase for 925, and 0.5 ETH to the pool for 953. You got a total of 1,878, and then your profit is $28. You started with $1,850 to buy 1 ETH, and then you got $28 as profit. My question to you here now is, can you actually earn more from this pool? And if you say yes, how can you profit more from this pool? This is the current pool now. You sold 0.5 ETH and assume that no one touches this pool. So no one bought or sell any ETH from this pool. Can you earn more money? The answer to that is no, you cannot earn more money. Because when you sold 0.5 ETH to this pool, 1 ETH now becomes 1,814 DAI. This means that the pool is below the market price of 1,840. It is better to buy from the pool now than to sell because it is cheaper. What you have done by doing this over here and profiting $28 is that you have done arbitrage. You saw a difference in the price of an asset between two exchanges, one from Coinbase and one from this decentralized exchange. So you bought an asset at a lower price, you bought it at 1.85k, and then you sold it here in one place and sell at a higher price at another place. This is the real meaning of arbitrage, the simultaneous buying and selling of securities, currencies, or commodities in different markets. So meaning in this case, the buying and selling of tokens in different exchanges in order to take advantage of differing prices for the same asset. If this pool exists now at 1.814k, what can you do with it? Well, you can buy a very small sum of ETH, so maybe you buy 0.1, and then you sell it on Coinbase to make some money. In other words, what you want to do and what you want to achieve is for every exchange to have the asset at the same price. So when this exchange, this decentralized pool have 1 ETH at 1,840 and Coinbase have 1 ETH at 1,840, that means there is no reason and no place to arbitrage. Okay, another question for you is it difficult to perform arbitrage? And think about it for a while, and this is my answer. It is extremely difficult to perform arbitrage. Why is it difficult to perform? Because number one, there are a lot of bots out there. If you want to do it manually, you have to find a pool that is like this, and you have to find Coinbase that sells for lesser than a pool, or vice versa, and then you have to execute the trade. But you have to do it, you have to be the first one to do it. So if you were to do it manually, you'll be too slow because the bots will perform the arbitrage first. And arbitrage is always happening. This is to keep the price of an asset roughly the same across all platforms, from centralized exchanges to decentralized exchanges. You have to find a profitable trade before anyone else does and execute it quickly, so it is extremely difficult to perform arbitrage manually. Still, it is possible to find arbitrage opportunities, say from a chain with extremely low transaction but high liquidity. However, you will not earn much money if you are doing it manually with a small sum of money. You have to have a large amount of money and a bot to successfully perform arbitrage and actually gain profits. This is the advantage of arbitrage, which is to keep the price of a token roughly the same. Are there any other advantages that you can think of? Okay, right now we come to the last part of this video, which is some questions to think about. Now that we know roughly how a liquidity pool works, we want to understand how a rug pool works. Say a malicious user mints 1 million token for himself and creates a pool with 1 million token and $10,000, 10,000 USDC, so $10,000. So because this and this have to be of the same value, one token is worth about 1 cent USDC. How does the malicious user take advantage of people buying the tokens? And secondly, my second question is, what happens if you want to buy more than what the pool has? This is a bit impossible right now because, as you can see, the pool has this amount of money. So you have to have like $31 million in order to buy out this pool. But yeah, so what happens if you want to buy more than what the pool has? For example, going back to the first pool with this amount, what if I want to buy 20 ETH from the pool? What happens? Now, I'm not going to answer these questions for you. It's just some questions just to think about. And this is the summary of what we have learned. I'm not going to go through everything, but just take note that you have learned what price impact is, which is the change in price caused by your own trade, and what price slippage is, which is the change in price caused by other people. So don't set your price slippage to 0. This is not really important in famous AMM exchanges like Uniswap because they will auto set a slippage for you. And likewise, don't set price slippage to 100 either. And lastly, arbitrage is hard to do manually, and arbitrage is good for the ecosystem. So if you have any questions, doubt, or clarifications, or even recommendations, do leave your comments below, or you can shoot me a DM on Twitter. If you have any more topics you want to see, you can also leave in the comments below. And if anything that is unclear to you, the slides will be available in the description for you to look through. Once again, thank you for watching, and hope to see you guys in another video.